Good evening, dear students. How are you all? So last time we discussed about how can you disposed waste material, right? And we were discussing about types of energy resources, right? Solar power, like biogas and everything, right? Today, what we are going to discuss is how can you dispose this waste material? How can you arrange this waste material? How can you use some kind of these items and produce some income, right? Hmm? So yeah, so the increasing of production of waste materials, it's a problem, right? And අපද්‍රව්‍ය කියන එක එකතු වෙන එක වැඩි වෙලා තියෙන හැමදාම, right? And it has been a byproduct of industrialization, right? කාර්මික විප්ලවයෙන් පස්සේ වෙච්ච සංසිද්ධියක්, right? So factories produce waste during manufacturing. මොන හරි දෙයක් හදනකොට මොන හරි දෙයක් විසික් කරනවා. දෙයක් තියෙනවා, that is common. Mining, right? Agriculture, right? Generate leftovers that must be disposed. එතකොට මේ agriculture වල කෘෂිකර්මාන්තය mining වල ඔයගේ මොකද වෙන්නේ? ගොඩක් දේවල් අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් විසික් කරනවා. ඒතර ඔය හරි තැනකට යනවාද? And containers and packaging. අපි කෑම එකක් ගෙනවත් package එකක් තියෙනවා. lunch sheet එකක් තියෙනවා නේද? අපි මොකද කරන්නේ? So those things are discarded every day, right? Life become what? Waste. ඔක්කොම waste එකක් වෙනවා. ආයෝ පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ නැහැ ගොඩක් ඒවානේ. Refuse or solid waste, right? Contains solid and semi-solid materials. These are two major components. Garbage or food waste. උනුත් තියෙනවා garbage. කෑම වර්ගත් තියෙන ඉතුරු වෙනවා. Or trash or solid waste without garbage. So refuse is considered separately from sewage, right? So which includes mostly liquid waste. Liquid waste උත් තියෙනවා, right? කාණු වල යනවා නේද? And it's a high percentage of organic components. Organic. So there are a lot of things done. Now, if you look at this here, waste, අපිට තියෙන waste materials, right? කොච්චර garbage තියෙනවද කිව්වොත් එහෙනම් පැසිෆික් සාගරයේ වෙනම garbage patch එකක් තියෙනවා. හිතන්නකෝ. කියන්නේ කුණු patch එකක් තියෙනවා පැසිෆික් වල, right? Now here, this is in India. මේ කුණු එතකොට මේ ගොඩක් රටවල් වල පුච්චනවා. දැන් සිංගප්පූරු වල නම් හැමදාම 6 million විතර කිලෝග්‍රෑම් කුණු පුච්චනවා, right? So now here India, කොහොමද?
Thousands of people risk their lives
මිනිස්සු
in
එකතු
one of India's largest landfills.
මොනවද මෙච්චර උඩට තියෙන්නේ? ඔය කුණු එකතු වෙච්ච ඒවා. කුණු. ඒවා පරණ වෙලා එක කොට ගහලා තියෙන්නේ ඔය. It's a mountain, නේ? Yes.
They sort all kinds of waste, even used syringes. In recent years, fires have become more and more common, threatening people who work here and live nearby. The Balswa landfill burned for 2 months starting in April. When temperatures soared over 110 degrees Fahrenheit in New Delhi. Sahabuddin lost plastic and scrap metal he'd been collecting for years. Firefighters extinguished the open flames after about 2 weeks. But people here are still struggling to breathe because they've lived next to the smoldering plumes the whole time.
उसकी लाइफ तो समझिए बहुत ही
කුණු තැන් වල ජීවත් වෙන තියෙන තැන් වල, right? හිතන්නකෝ.
As garbage piles up and the planet warms, landfill fires are expected to get worse. We went to India to meet the people who make their living next to a flaming mountain of worldwide waste.
මේ ගිනි ගන්න තැන
Every day, the
කුණු
tens
වහුරනවා
of
ගිහලා, right?
millions of people that live in the city of Delhi generate 10,000 metric tons of waste.
10,000 metric ton.
Nearly all of it ends up in one of 3 surrounding landfills.
Now, most of these dump sites have gone beyond their capacity and they're overflowing with waste. And that's the real problem today.
Balsall was supposed to close more than 10 years ago, but it keeps accepting garbage, up to 600 truckloads every day.
දවසකට ට්‍රැක්ටර්ස් ලොරි කීයක් එනවද? 600ක් එනවා කුණු දාලා යන්න. ඒතකොට හිතන්න කොච්චර ඩැමේජ් එකක්ද කියලානේ. right. මේ තියෙන ඇමරිකාවේ ඔක හැන්ඩල් කරන විදිය. right. කුණු. see. It's more advanced, right? Not like the Indians where I think එකතු කරන්නේ නැහැ, ඒවා පුච්චනවා, ඒවා separate කරනවා, ඒ ඔක්කොම කරනවා. They do that separately. Then only like it's possible for them, right? Otherwise it's a problem. Okay.
This is just 3 days worth of trash.
Hey, that was
Most coming
Tunaka
from
Bono.
New York City. And that claw is taking it to be burned into electricity. But we're not actually in New York City. We're in Jersey.
Once the garbage man comes and picks it up, you don't think any more about it. But it has a long way to go after that.
None of New Yorkers' waste is processed in the city. Instead, it ends up as far away as Ohio, Pennsylvania, and even South Carolina. So getting trash from here to here takes thousands of workers, trucks, trains, cranes, and even barges, operating nonstop to ship waste across the East Coast.
Rain, snow, hail, storm, there's no stopping us.
And it all costs the city hundreds of millions. Here's what actually happens to New York City's 3.2 million tons of trash a year. New York City's Department of Sanitation sends its fleet of 2,000 garbage trucks to start picking up at 5 a.m.
You have to keep active. Some guys like to work out, some guys don't. Basically, it depends on you.
What do you do?
Me, I don't work out. This is my workout. This is my daily workout.
That's Frank, a 23-year veteran sanitation worker.
Well, you get immune to the smell. You don't smell garbage, you smell
මම
money.
කැමදාම තියෙන
Checking to
හැටනේ.
see how solid it is. You can tell when the truck is full.
Frank heads to the dump station in the Upper East Side. By then, the sun's coming up.
We are currently at 91st Street MTS. Doors will open as the truck comes in, and there's radiation detectors that will read the truck.
Trucks pause at the weigh station to help the city keep track of how much trash New Yorkers produce. Then handles tilt the hopper.
Then she'll push the blade, and the blade will push the material all the way out to clear the whole truck. It's roughly 450 to 600 tons a day.
Tractors move the trash
කොන්න
into the
650
containers
කියනවා
beneath the ground.
දවසකට.
It's sort of a dance. One FPL will clear the wall, and one FPL will load containers. Getting the material containerized as quickly as possible and sealed keeps that smell down.
A stamper then packs in the garbage. Mattresses are used like a sponge to sop up anything left over.
When we have garbage on the floor, it'll take anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes to load a container.
Once the Department of Sanitation seals a container and slides it out to the dock, responsibility then goes to Covanta. The waste-to-energy company handles 2 marine transfer stations in the city.
Containers are picked up by the crane and put on the barge. 48 containers go on the barge.
Every one of these containers represents a truckload that we have
දැන්
taken.
මේ කන්ටේනර් වල උනත් තියෙන කුණු. ඔය තන තනකට ගිහලා පුච්චන්න තමයි ගෙනියන්නේ. ඒතර හිතන්න කොච්චර මුදලක් වැය කරනවද අපි විසික් කරන කුණු ටික පුච්චන්න. Now just imagine. So that is in America, right? Okay, let's write about that. On the subtopic disposal of waste materials. Okay, right. Finished writing. Okay, right. Now look at this video, right? For waste, you can manage your waste, right? For methods, right? How can you control it? කොහොමද මේව පාලනය කරන්නේ?
4 ways of waste management. The environmental condition highly depends on the way you manage it and the way you deal with your waste. Waste management is the prevention, generation, monitoring, handling, treatment, residual disposition, characterization and reuse of solid wastes. To know more about better waste management and creating a better environment, read in this section. There are various types of solid waste, for example, farming, municipal, commercial, residential, institutional, and special, sewage sludge, healthcare, household hazardous wastes. Usually, the word pertains to individuals' materials which are created by human activity. Besides, the operation is generally carried out to be able to decrease their impact on the environment, appearance or health. It is vital to understand how to conduct waste disposal. In the realm of today, by which population is rising and thus is quick industrialization, waste materials created are a well-liked trend. Proper getting rid of wastes helps with maintaining your atmosphere free from pathogens that create illnesses and maintains it eco-friendly. Listed here are 4 techniques of appropriate waste management that may help you to keep your environment clean. 1. Recycling. Probably the most anxiousness of waste management, recycling isn't pricey, also it could be easily conducted on your part. When you perform recycling, you'll be able to avoid wasting sources, energy, and thus, it will help reduce pollution. Also, you might cut costs whenever you recycle. Various materials that may be recycled include aluminum, plastics, glass, and papers. If you want to lower the waste materials volume, among the best ways you should do is to recycle. If you select recycling, you can eliminate tires, asphalt and batteries in the waste materials, also it stops them from being into the incinerator and landfills. The town of virtually every city motivates its citizens from taking up recycling. So, be among these responsible citizens and reduce your waste through recycling. 2. Composting. Composting is the natural process that is devoid of any dangerous byproducts. The procedure includes the break-lower procedure for materials into some organic compounds which may be utilized as manure. You might perform composting within your backyard. When composting, you can use grass, twigs, leaves, and add vegetable and fruit skins and peels. Soon after days, you need to realize that the types of materials have decomposed. You might employ this compost that's wealthy in nutrients so they can improve the soil in your garden. What you're adding into your compost also has something to do with composting. The following steps help you start with composting and know what materials you should and must not include in the process. 1. Build a bin for the compost. Though you can still successfully compost within a pile on the ground, using a container will keep the whole process neater, and it helps in putting off animals when you include food scraps in your composting process. Based on the bin's construction, it may also aid to regulate the temperature and moisture. Excellent minimum pile size is at least 1 cubic meter or 1 cubic yard, but the pile may go more significant than this, while smaller scale composting could be allowed to work. 2. Fill the bin with a balanced mixture for most excellent results. You may include the following into your mix. Green stuff, nitrogen, for activating the heat process within your compost. Brown stuff, carbon, to act as the fiber for the compost. Other items that could be composed that you might not have considered before, such as paper bags, paper towels, eggshells, cotton clothing, hair, human, animals. Utilize all the items moderately. Air. This helps deal with the smell produced by different bacteria. Anaerobic compost can attract files that you do not want in your yard. Water. The pile must be around as damp as a sponge that has been squeezed out. Temperature. The compost pile's temperature is extremely important and is a sign of the microbial activity of the process of decomposition. Starter or soil compost. It is not firmly necessary, yet recently completed compost between layers could aid to introduce the right bacteria to begin the composting process a bit more quickly. When you are getting weeds, the soil that is left on the roots might be sufficient to serve the purpose. 3. Mix of layer various materials within the container. 3. Landfills.
Landfills.
Waste management by the effective use of landfills includes the effective use of a large area. The area is excavated and will also be full of waste. Next, the region is going to be hidden using soil. Landfills are unsafe given that they release gases, for example, methane, which is very risky. You mustn't execute waste management with landfills whenever you can't guarantee safety means. Landfills should be lined correctly as the waste mustn't make contact with the neighboring areas. 4. Burning of waste materials.
Burning.
Should you can't recycle or when there aren't any ideal places for getting landfills set up, you might burn the spend created in your household. Controlled waste burning at extreme temperatures to create steam and ash is a perfect waste disposal method. Combustion considerably lessens the waste volume to become disposed of. Besides, solid waste offer for that alternative and continuously available source for creating energy with combustion. Such energy might be channeled into functional purposes. These are a couple of from the waste management methods you can perform inside the
So those are some waste management proposals, right? Things you can do, right? Okay, let's write the rest, okay? Finished writing. Okay. Right. So many things, of course, are disposed at your home, right? අපි ගෙදර ගොඩක් කේක වර්ග දේවල් අපි විසික් කරනවා, right? Hmm? Hmm? Sometimes in the home, even sometimes in the school, right? පාසලේ තියෙන දේවලුත් එහෙමයි. So these discarded things are called waste materials. මේ discard කර දේවල් වලට අපි කියනවා waste materials කියලා, right? So these waste material can be grouped. Now group කරන්න පුළුවන්. කොහොමද? Domestic, ගෘහස්ත, right? Agricultural, කෘෂි කර්මාන්ත, right? And industrial, කර්මාන්ත වල තියෙන waste, අපද්‍රව්‍ය කියලා, according to their origin. So usually we collect this waste material in a certain place. මේවා එක තැනක තමයි එකතු කරන්නේ. In a home garden, or you put into a pit, පේන තවලකට දානවා, or add them into a heap of garbage, right? Those things. Yet the disposal of non-decaying waste materials in these things are there. Non-decaying, දිරාපත් නොවන, මෙතන තියෙනවා දිරාපත් නොවන දේවල්, right? It's harmful to the environment. ඒතර ඒක හරිම harmful, right? I'll show you a video about this harmful, right? Non-decaying waste materials, right? අපේ ෆෝන් එකේ හැමත් තියෙනවා ඒකට වැටෙනවා, right? So now here, now these things, of course, you can't decay, right? මේවා මේ දිරාපත් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. මේවා දිරාපත් වෙනවා කියලා හිතන්නවත් බෑ අපිට නේ. ප්ලාස්ටික්, එතකොට මේ ඉලෙක්ට්‍රිකල් අයිටම්ස්, right? Okay. එතකොට ඒක හරියට වෙන්නේ නැහැ, right? Now look at this. හැබැයි මේවායින් රත්තරන් ගන්න පුළුවන්. මොන වගේද? මේ මදර් බෝඩ් වල තියෙන parts වලින්, right? Okay.
They had a place where they'd store it, right under our noses. And they just thought they could get away with it forever. And they could have if it hadn't been for those trackers.
Right now, you're watching this on an electronic device. Do you ever think about where it'll end up when you're done with it?
ෆෝන් එක හැදලා ගියාම ආයෙ පාවිච්චි කරන්න බැරුණාම අපි කොහෙද දාන්නේ? What are we doing?
Devices contain toxic materials and should be recycled very carefully. Sadly, lots end up in landfills. But even if you're diligent and give your electronic waste, or e-waste, to a recycler, that's no guarantee about what happens next. American recyclers often ship it overseas, frequently to countries in southern Asia. There, workers take apart toxic material by hand, often without proper safety measures. And US policy lets it happen. But thanks to one small nonprofit, not everyone gets away with it.
That means they're really worried about our program, probably.
So we usually want to put our tracker somewhere where it will be nice to fit in. So for example, right here is a good spot.
We're at the office of the Basel Action Network, or BAN, a nonprofit group that's dedicated to following the e-waste trade around the world. BAN installs secret GPS trackers and electronics and then drops them off at recyclers to see where they end up. Jim Puckett is the founder and director of BAN.
ඇමරිකාවේ තියෙන ඉලෙක්ට්‍රොනික කුණු ඇමරිකාවේ තියෙන ඉලෙක්ට්‍රොනික garbage කොහෙද දෙන්නේ? ආසියාවට තමයි එන්නේ. ආසියාවට ආමෝද කරන්නේ. ඒකේ තියෙන අපි කෑලි අරන් ඉවරලා අපි අපේ වැඩවලට හදාගන්නවා. That's what. Use phones තියෙනනේ පාවිච්චි කරපු phone. එනවා නේද ලංකාවට? ඉන්දියාවට. ඔව් එනවා. ඒ රටවල වල පාවිච්චි කරලා බැරි වුණාම මොකද වෙන්නේ? මෙහෙට එවන එක තමයි කරන්නේ. That's what they do.
There was a rash, an epidemic of people exporting their hazardous waste to developing countries rather than properly managing it at home because it was difficult, poisonous stuff, right? So people said, well, we'll just use the ships out there and free trade and go ahead and export it.
Americans throw out millions of tons of electronics every year, and export abroad is still a big problem. Take, for instance, LCD monitors that contain mercury. If a worker in, say, Hong Kong smashes it, poisonous vapor can be released into the air. Workers dismantling electronics can get severely sick and even die. A 1989 treaty called the Basel Convention does regulate the export of e-waste, but the US has never ratified it, and a provision that would stop countries from sending e-waste to many developing nations isn't in effect.
The US has been remiss for many years now, for about 20-some years, particularly environmental treaties.
So there's very little stopping American recyclers from dumping their electronics abroad, until BAN gets involved.
And so the tracker will go here. This board will end up going right about there. So it still looks like a normal piece of electronic.
Without federal e-waste laws, BAN's tracking system is one of the only ways for businesses and governments to find out who they want to work with. After we bugged this monitor, we made plans to drop it at a local recycler.
This is the loading dock where you will be
Okay. So that's how they send trash. දැන් ඔතන ඒ දියුණු රටවල් කුණු එවන්නේ, right? ආන් ඒ වගේ තමයි. ඒක එච්චර හොඳ වැඩක් නෙමෙයි. It's not a good thing. Okay, let's write about that, huh? Right. Now, look at this video. Right? Remember garbage, right? තියෙන ගොඩක් තැන්වල right? මේ තියෙන්නේ මේ මුහුදේ අපි පාවිච්චි කරන ඒවා. බිම දාපු ඒවා, right? Here.
Our oceans sustain life. An abundant ocean can feed 1 billion people a healthy meal every day forever. But now they are being killed by throwaway plastics. The equivalent of 1 garbage truck of plastic is dumped in the sea every minute. 17.6 billion pounds every year. Plastic is everywhere in our ocean, floating on the surface, mixing in the salt water, and sitting on the ocean bottom, miles and miles deep. And once in the ocean, it never goes away. Over hundreds of years, it breaks down into small pieces. But those pieces, even the tiny ones called microplastics, are still plastic. Sea turtles are choking on it. Scientists say that over 60% of whale and dolphin species are affected by it. Zooplankton, the base of the ocean food chain, eat it. And so do we. It's in the water we drink. It's in our food. Microplastics have been found in our salt, our honey, and our beer. And sometimes even in the air we breathe. Companies are choosing to make something that will be used just once, from a material that lasts forever. If you don't like what throwaway plastics are already doing to our world, brace yourself. We face a tsunami of throwaway plastic in our and the ocean's future. 4 times more plastic will be produced between now and the middle of the century than has been produced in all of history. 4 times more. What can we do? Recycling? Of all the plastic ever generated as of 2015, only 9% was recycled. Even when it is recycled, plastic degrades. Your plastic soda bottle maybe becomes a shampoo bottle, then a floor mat. Even in the best case, it doesn't recycle, it downcycles. And then it becomes pollution that ruins our beaches and chokes sea animals forever. We should not be forced to pollute the ocean every time we eat, drink, or go shopping. We need to be given a choice. A plastic-free choice. This is not hard to imagine. Indeed, some responsible companies are already leading the way. There are throwaway plastic-free aisles in supermarkets. Beverage companies already offer plastic-free soda and salsa water. Restaurants offer plastic-free service. There are plastic-free rooms in hotels. An airline is now offering a plastic-free flight. And Oceania and our allies are winning plastic-free victories. Following campaigning by Oceania, Peru passed a law that keeps plastic out of national parks and beaches. Belize is getting rid of styrofoam. And the European Union has mandated reductions for throwaway plastic throughout its 28 member countries. But with your help, we can do more. Together, we can create a movement to reduce throwaway plastic. We can make sure we're all given real plastic-free choices. We can help our cities, towns, schools, and workplaces establish zones that are free of throwaway plastic. Let's stop plastic pollution from wrecking our beaches and our oceans, and have healthy oceans that delight and sustain us for generations to come. Please join our campaign.
Right. So that's about the garbage in the ocean, right? Okay, let's write the rest. Okay. Finish writing. Okay. Now, look at this video, right? In Germany, they make money using garbage. In Germany, garbage wheeling salary hoy no, right?
Our waste, a source of raw materials and motor of the economy. An entire republic caught up in recycling fever. There's money to be made from the waste of an affluent society. Even old TVs are a treasure trove of riches. Gold fever among the recyclers.
There are a lot of precious metals, most notably copper.
Trash heaps are the mines of tomorrow. 4,000 tons of electronic scrap yield 25 kilograms of gold. Packaging waste is a gold mine for recycling professionals too, sorting at breakneck speed for new raw materials and products. Tetra Paks are turned into paper, plastic bottles into car parts, and yogurt cups into shopping baskets.
Yogurt cups into shopping
Building
baskets.
rubble becomes new materials for house and road construction. What remains of the trash is then used to generate electricity, district heat, and even fuel that can replace coal.
Instead of just burning the garbage, we do a little more beforehand.
Germany's biggest recycling center in the north of Hamburg. On a site the size of 1.5 football fields, customers can dispose of anything they no longer have use for and won't fit in the trash can. Saturday morning, and already long lines have formed on the approaching road. The 15 workers have their hands full coping with the stampede. They have to process up to 1,500 customers a day on the weekend.
Keep driving through, please. Drive through, drive through.
There are 49 debris container boxes available. For wood, for example, this will later go to specialist companies to be processed into parts.
So that's how they recycle them and take into money, right? Let's try the last sentence, right? Are the lines that I've underlined? This 2 sentences. Okay, right. Now, there are different methods that you can recycle. The first one is reuse. What is reuse? Reuse කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? නැවත භාවිතය. Right? Reusing the items that can be used again and again. භාවිතා කරන්න පුළුවන් ඒවා. මොනවද? Textbooks. ඉස්කෝලේ අච්චුපොත් එහෙම පාවිච්චි කරපුවා හම්බ වෙනව නේද? Packing boxes. Ice cream containers තියෙනව නේද ගෙවල් වල? Is-rich channel එක. ෆ්‍රිජ් එකේ ගියාම ice cream container ගොඩක් තියෙනවා. හැබැයි එකකවත් ice cream නැහැ. වෙන ඒවා නම් තියෙනවා. නේද? ඔව්. අන්න ඒ වගේ තමයි. Strawberry ice cream box තියෙනවා, chocolate ice cream box තියෙනවා, vanilla තියෙනවා. හැබැයි එකකවත් ice cream නැහැ. මොනවද තියෙන්නේ? yes, එළවලු මාළු නේද? ආන්ගෝ. So අපිට මේවා ආයෙ පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන්. We can use them again. Right? Glass, වීදුරු පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන්. Bottles, බෝතල් පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන් නේද? ඒතර මේවා තමයි මොනවද මේ? නැවත භාවිතය කියලා කියන්නේ. We call it reuse. The next one is recycling. ප්‍රතිශක්තිකරණය, right? That is non-degradable materials. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ දිරාපත් නොවන දේවල් අපිට එහෙම කරන්න වෙනවා. මොකද ඒවා ආයෙ පාවිච්චි කරන්න බෑ. ඒවා පරිසරයට මුදා හරින්නත් බෑ. Polythene, plastic වගේ දේවල්. You can get an extra income. You can වෙන ආදායමක් හොයන්න පුළුවන්. By collecting, sorting them, handling them more to recycle centers. So you can produce new products. Understood? දැන් ඔය තියෙන videos වගේ මම පෙන්නන්නම්. plastic වලින් shirts මහනවා. Okay? Oh. polyester කියලා ගන්නෙ plastic වලින් හදපුවම ඉන්දියාවේ කරනවා. Next one, reducing. අඩු කරනවා. භාවිතය අඩු කරනවා. අනවශ්‍යව. Minimizing the use of non-degradable items. ප්‍රතිශක්තිකරණය කරන්න බැරි, විනාශ කරන්න බැරි දේවල් අපි පාවිච්චි අඩු කරනවා. polythene package කරන එක අඩු කරනවා. දැන් polythene විකුණන එකත් අපි නොමිලේ දෙන එක තහනම් කරානේ නේ. සල්ලි දීලා තමයි polythene bag ගන්න ඕනේ. ඒ වගේ. plastic items වගේ දේවල් අපිට නැවත පාවිච්චි කරන්න දෙන්න පුළුවන්. We can use something else. So from these things මෙන්න මේ වගේන් අපිට පුළුවන් මොනවද? ගොඩක් විදිහට මේ නාස්තිය අවම කරගන්න. Right? Okay. Right. So next day we'll learn more about this recycling methods. Right? Until then, good night. Take care. Right? And stay safe.